A humanitarian aid ship bound for Gaza encountered trouble near Malta, sparking controversy and accusations. Meanwhile, Israel launched strikes near Syria's presidential palace, escalating tensions in an already volatile region. We'll get into all of this today. I'm David Werp, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Great to be back with you all. A humanitarian aid ship that was headed for Gaza, operated by the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, ran into some trouble early Friday after what the group says was a drone attack in international waters near Malta. The incident, which sparked a fire on board, happened just after midnight and left the vessel in rough shape. The ship, Conscience, had set out from Tunisia earlier in the week, was about 17 nautical miles east of Malta when it was hit around 12:23 a.m. local time. The FFC, a coalition of activists from over 21 countries working to break Israel's blockade of Gaza since 2007, claims the drones targeted the ship's generator, causing a fire and damaging the hull. Videos they shared online show flames and heavy smoke, with 2 loud explosions audible. The group says 30 activists were on board, though Maltese authorities later reported 12 crew members and 4 passengers. The Conscience set out an SOS immediately after the incident. Cyprus responded with a vessel, while a tugboat from Transport Malta, just a mile away, also jumped in to fight the fire and had it under control by 1:28 a.m. Malta's armed forces also sent a patrol boat, and by 3:45 the situation was stable. Everyone on board was safe but chose to stay put rather than evacuate the ship. The FFC criticized Malta, saying it didn't do enough as the nearest rescue authority, but Maltese officials insisted they acted quickly and had support on scene fast. The coalition had kept their mission under wraps to avoid interference and is now blaming Israel, calling it a deliberate attack on a civilian aid effort and a breach of international law. In a statement, the coalition alleged the attack was carried out by an Israeli military drone. The front of the vessel was targeted twice, resulting in a fire and a breach in the hull, the FFC said. This was a deliberate targeting of a civilian humanitarian aid ship. While Israel has not officially commented on the allegations of a drone strike against the aid flotilla, an unsourced report claims that the ship is affiliated with Hamas. Israel isn't commenting, but some are defining the ship attack next to Malta as Hamas-affiliated and say that it was a sophisticated aerial attack, Yediot Aharonoth military correspondent Yossi Yehoshua wrote in a post to X. This wouldn't be the first time Israel has acted to stop ships from breaking the blockade on Gaza, though. In 2010, Israeli Shayetet 13 naval commandos boarded 6 ships that were part of a flotilla about 80 miles off the Israeli coast from speedboats and helicopters after issuing multiple warnings to stop the approach and change course. On one of the ships, the Turkish ship MV Mavi Marmara, the raid turned violent after activists resisted with makeshift weapons, including iron bars and knives. In the ensuing struggle, 9 activists were killed, while 10 Israeli soldiers were wounded. Israel called it self-defense, claiming the flotilla, organized by the Free Gaza movement and Turkish IHH, posed a threat. The Freedom Flotilla coalition ship Conscience is currently anchored near Herd's Bank, with Maltese authorities keeping watch as the coalition plans its next move. We'll be right back with the rest of today's show, but first, Magen David Adom is Israel's emergency services system, which means that they're the first ones on the scene at every terror attack, rocket attack, car accident, heart attack, whether it's terror-related or not. They dispatch every ambulance in the nation, and they receive thousands of emergency calls every single day. They are the ones who are on the front lines of this 7-front war that Israel is still facing. Since October 7th, they have saved thousands of lives and continue to do so every single day. They need our help, though. 90% of their 37,500 EMTs, paramedics, and first responders are volunteers. They need more emergency vehicles, bandages, medical supplies, and so much more to respond to every terror attack and every other daily emergency that's happening here in Israel. People ask us what they can do to bless Israel during this war. Well, this is one of the best ways that you can do that. You can be a part of making sure Magen David Adom is equipped with everything that they need to save more lives here in Israel. Go to www.savelivesinisrael.com to make a real difference today. To give you a bit of an update on what's going on in Syria, watch the show that Ben did yesterday if you haven't been keeping up with the news. But just this morning, Israel conducted airstrikes near the presidential palace in Damascus, Syria, marking the second military intervention this week amid escalating violence targeting the Druze minority. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz issued a joint statement saying, "This is a clear message to the Syrian regime. We will not allow Syrian forces to deploy south of Damascus or any threat to the Druze community." The Israel military confirmed its warplanes struck adjacent to the area of the palace of Ahmed Hussein al-Shara in Damascus, though specific targets were not identified. And just for a brief recap of what's going on, the violence began on Tuesday because of a clip that was circulated on social media that supposedly was of a Druze leader insulting the Prophet Muhammad. The accusations were denied, and it turned out the message was most likely fake. But even still, armed Muslim groups used that as an excuse to begin attacking areas with large Druze populations, including towns near Damascus. Israeli officials have made it clear they're closely monitoring the situation. Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar urged the international community to fulfill its role in protecting minorities in Syria, especially the Druze, from the regime and its gangs of terror. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department called on Syria's government to stop the violence, with spokesperson Tammy Bruce stating that sectarianism will only sink Syria and the region into chaos. The Druze, who practice a religion that has its roots in Islam, have communities across the Middle East, including in Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, and many even serve in the Israeli military. Druze protesters in Israel blocked highways Thursday, demanding government intervention to protect their Syrian brethren. This violence poses a serious challenge to Syria's transitional government, led by President Ahmed al-Shara, who came to power after his coalition of rebel groups overthrew Bashar al-Assad last December. Since then, Syria has experienced multiple incidents of sectarian violence, including what human rights groups called a massacre of more than 1,700 Alawite civilians in March. Israel has previously referred to Syria's transitional government as a terror group from Idlib that took Damascus by force, a reference to al-Shara's past as an al-Qaeda commander before he renounced ties to the group in 2016. Syrian Foreign Minister Assad al-Shaibani rejected calls for international intervention, writing on social media that national unity is the solid foundation for any process of stability or revival. Speaking of regions aflame, most of y'all have probably heard by now of the massive wildfire that's raging here in Israel. Officials are saying it's probably the largest wildfire in Israel's history. The blaze has burned more than 5,000 acres and caused the evacuation of 10 communities in the hills outside Jerusalem since Wednesday. Prime Minister Netanyahu called the blazes life-threatening and a national danger that could potentially threaten Jerusalem itself. Several countries have even offered assistance to help tackle the blaze, including Ukraine, Spain, France, Romania, Croatia, Cyprus, and Italy. Well, and now it seems like the fires are finally starting to be under control. The Fire and Rescue Service said Thursday evening that firefighters had gained control of the fires after nearly 30 hours of nonstop battling. The Fire and Rescue Service also said it has yet to determine what caused the fires, with investigations still being in preliminary stages. Although 3 people have been arrested in connection to the fires, and messages have been circulating on Palestinian social networks saying, "The settlers' houses in the surrounding areas are your target. Burn them with your Molotov cocktails and set the grass near the settlement outpost on fire." Hamas also sent out a message on Telegram Wednesday calling on Palestinians to burn everything they can in the groves, forests, and settlers' houses. Thank the Lord the fires are under control now, and no major injuries have been reported. Pray for all those who are affected by the fires. Pray for the ongoing situation in Syria. And above all, continue to pray for the peace of Jerusalem and the restoration of all things. Guys, don't forget to support Magen David Adom, who are on the front lines saving lives here in Israel. Check out the link in the description below, or go to www.savelivesinisrael.com. Subscribe and get the conversation going down in the comments below. If you'd like to support our work here at The Israel Guys, head over to theisraelguys.com/donate. As always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what is happening here in Israel. We'll be back soon here at The Israel Guys.